This is the EMAT podcast. Hello and welcome to the Emergency Management Association of Texas EMAT podcast. I am your host, Aaron Ewing, Digital Media Specialist with the Harris County Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Today we have on the line Mark Chadwick, Emergency Management Specialist for Bexar County Office of Emergency Management. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you. I appreciate you allowing me to be here.
Absolutely. Let's just jump right into it, Mark. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I've been involved in emergency response for a little over 35 years, so I'm still trying to learn my way around. I'm a certified emergency manager, certified Texas emergency manager. I also hold credentials as a master military emergency management specialist and fire credentials as a certified fire inspector, along with a few other things. So that kind of gives you a little breakdown. Like I said, I've only been doing this for 35 years, so I am trying to learn emergency management still.
I think we all are, sir. You have been enlisted as one of the talented presenters for the upcoming EMAT Symposium, and you will be giving a presentation entitled "Developing a Counter Unmanned Aircraft Surveillance Program."
So over the last several years, we have seen the number of unmanned aircraft explode in the United States. And unfortunately, when you have good technology that comes along like this, you also have people who sometimes make poor decisions. Sometimes those poor decisions cause us to have to take actions and respond in ways that we may not have thought about before. So when we're looking at what's happening across the United States with unmanned aircraft and how that is impacting our ability to be able to respond to disasters and emergencies, we need to strongly start developing some plans of how we're going to respond in the event we're on an incident and all of a sudden a rogue unmanned aircraft shows up that prohibits us or impacts our ability to be able to take care of our citizens. Prime example, I don't know how many people have seen it, but the FBI in the last couple of weeks have charged several people in the Miami area for flying unmanned aircraft into airspace that had been temporarily designated as a no-fly zone during the Super Bowl. Now, this is unique in that we are starting to see now the federal government taking a bigger response because they're seeing what these things are doing. Unfortunately, we have people who are flying unmanned aircraft into airspace that is a danger then to manned aircraft. Most of your jet engines, if they pull something into that air intake, it could cause an airplane to actually crash. Helicopters could be impacted by unmanned aircraft. Even small prop type aircraft could be impacted by these unmanned aircraft flying in spaces that they shouldn't be. Then you have the people who are always trying to catch us. You know, they're the folks who think that we aren't looking out for their best interests, that we're hiding something. And those people will fly these unmanned aircraft into areas that are become then hazards to human beings. These things are not toys. With the speed that these propellers rotate at, you can look on the internet and you can find all sorts of horrendous injuries that have occurred from people being impacted by these things. People who've had appendages that have been removed, fingers, eyes that have been removed from getting hit by these blades, disfigurement, and I could go on and on and on. And so what I'm trying to present in this workshop is how we can all start leaning forward and developing a program for our own jurisdiction on how we are going to respond.
So let me ask you a question. When you reference unmanned aircraft, are we talking generally about consumer electronic drones, the stuff you get at Best Buy, or are we talking something more specialized, perhaps military-based?
So we're primarily talking about your commercial style, not that there haven't been people out there who have not manufactured some pretty large unmanned aircraft on their own, because there are people who have the technology and the skill sets to be able to put together something that will fly, whether it's a quadcopter or a fixed wing. But majority of what we're dealing with is the things that are on the commercial market. And just because somebody buys it at Best Buy, don't mistake the fact that those things are not highly sophisticated. Nowadays, you can buy a very sophisticated unmanned aircraft for less than $4,000. And they have the capability to fly for a very long distance, very high altitudes. And in the hands of people that aren't paying attention or are not concerned about the safety of others, they become a hazard to those of us who are out there just trying to keep the public safe.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you reference developing a plan to deal with these unmanned aircraft, are we talking about countermeasures?
Well, we're limited on what we can do. Mm-hmm. The federal government will not allow people to, even local jurisdictions, to do things like shooting down unmanned aircraft. It's actual a felony. It's a federal felony to damage an aircraft. And these unmanned aircraft are designated by the FAA as aircraft. So you can't shoot them down. The other thing that people forget about is if you shot this thing and now it loses control, where's it going to go?
It's got to come down.
It's got to come down somewhere, and it could then come down in a very erratic behavior, and you could actually end up hurting somebody. You also can't jam. So the federal government does not allow us to use jamming technology. So when you discount being able to forcefully bring the aircraft down or being able to jam it, now comes into play the things that I'm talking about. We need to have a plan. How are we going to respond? Mm-hmm. What are we going to do to protect the public and our own responders who are out there just trying to make the best out of a bad situation?
Absolutely. Sounds like we need to get out ahead of this, huh? Okay. Well, that sounds great. To all the EMAT listeners, Mark's presentation is going to be on the emergency management track and will be given Monday, February 24th at 1 p.m. Again, thank you, Mark, for joining us. Did you want to shout out your social media for your organization?
Well, I won't bother you with that, but I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be here and to be a part of this.
No problem, sir. Thank you again. Up next on this special episode of the EMAT podcast, we have one of our keynote speakers, Tony Robinson, administrator for the FEMA Region 6. Welcome, Tony.
Hey, Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing well. Tony, could you introduce yourself to our members?
Sure, Aaron. I'm Tony Robinson. I'm the regional administrator for FEMA Region 6. Our region has the states of Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and the 68 tribal nations that are within those geographic boundaries.
Excellent. That is a large jurisdiction.
It is a large and very busy jurisdiction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do appreciate you getting on here with us. We'll just get right into it. Tony Robinson is giving our keynote presentation at the EMAT Symposium on Monday, February 24th at 8:30 a.m. I wonder if you could give us a little bit of a teaser on what you're going to be talking about.
Sure. First off, I'm just looking forward to being there at the EMAT 13th Annual Leadership Symposium. With FEMA, it's a partnership. So all disasters start locally and are managed by the local entities. So looking forward to sharing a little bit about our strategic plan, talking a little bit about some of the things that we're focused on, talking about our partnership, how emergency management really includes all of us working together, and then just spending some time getting some feedback and listening to some of the folks in attendance about what FEMA can do, how we can lessen the complexity of our organization.
Absolutely. I'm sure you have already worked with a lot of our members in one form or fashion, so it'll be great for us to get together and catch up and network. I do appreciate you coming in.
So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the new release of the National Response Framework, which it does a couple of things. The Community Lifelines, which we'll talk about is a way that we can quickly look at assessing a catastrophic disaster, what are the gaps and what resources are needed. And then we'll talk a little bit about Emergency Support Function 14, which really looks at focusing on business, which is a big part of emergency management, how we can be working with them in preparedness, but certainly how businesses help us in our response and are big contributors to the resources we need in response.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And I also see listed here you have IPAWS listed as a topic. With the changes being pushed back to the WIA system, is that something you'll also be covering?
So we'll talk a little about the integrated public alert and warning system, really kind of looking at some heat maps on where we've got local warning points, and talking about the importance of alert notification in disasters. And once again, there's no one-size-fits-all, but what works best for communities in Texas. Be interested in kind of talking a little bit about IPAWS, but also hearing about what challenges there are in the alert notification systems. So, just part of being there with the group on the 24th, hearing some of that feedback.
Texas does seem to have the all natural disasters at all times, so I feel like we're a good litmus test for new programs.
Well, absolutely, and so I started here in FEMA Region 6 in 1987, and just pulled a few statistics. There's been 54 major disaster declarations since that time, focusing on from tornadoes, severe storms, hurricanes, wildfires, ice storms, flooding, and one explosion. So, Texas is not immune to any threat or hazard. It's not a matter of if, but just when. And so I think the opportunity for us to get together, talk about what we're focusing on, and to make sure in partnership we're preparing to support our survivors and communities in whatever threat and hazard they may face.
All right, excellent. Well, there still is time to register for the EMAT Symposium, and it sounds like Tony Robinson's keynote is going to be one you're not going to want to miss. If you have any more questions, you can visit our website at www.emat-tx.org. You can also follow us on social media at Your EMAT on Twitter and Facebook. Tony, did you want to shout out FEMA's Region 6's social media?
Sure. For our social media, Carmen Castro here at FEMA Region 6 takes care of that for me. I'm going to let Carmen give you our social media platforms.
Hi, yes. To follow FEMA Region 6 on Twitter, it's at FEMA Region 6. Regional Administrator can be followed at FEMA Region 6 RA.
Perfect. Thank you for that.
So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at the EMAT Symposium. And once again, I appreciate the partnership that we have with the state of Texas and the local emergency managers. So look forward to seeing some folks I've seen for many years and seeing some new faces as well, and just building upon those relationships we've already established.
Absolutely, sir. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Aaron, have a great day.
The EMAT Symposium is fast approaching. Visit www.emat-tx.org for more information. And don't forget to follow us on social media at Your EMAT. Again, that's at Your EMAT. And we'll see you at the symposium.